Greetings, folks. Iolair here. Today I've got a replay from Frankenstein 2014, who is sailing in a ship that, well, frankly, probably just doesn't get much publicity or love for that matter. This is the premium Tier 9 Pan-Asian battleship, the Bajie. And Frank is in a Tier 9 domination match here on Neighbors with carriers in play, and he's working on a commander rounding it out to a tank build. Now, the Bajie is based on the Tier 9 tech tree Japanese battleship, the Izumo, which historically has had a pretty terrible reputation. However, over the last couple of years, the Izumo has received a number of buffs to her accuracy, like that, as he lands his second citadel on the Kronstadt. But the Izumo has received buffs to her accuracy and to her armor, and the Bajie benefits from both of those. In fact, the Bajie is mainly distinguished from the Izumo with her slightly better guns in certain ways. So her range is much better. Her base range is 25.4 kilometers compared to the upgraded gunfire control system on the Izumo is a little more than 21 kilometers. So she has 4 kilometers better range than in an upgraded Izumo. And her Sigma is better. So the Izumo Sigma, the buff Sigma, is 2.0, which is quite good for a battleship. In fact, very good in a lot of ways. And the Bajie's Sigma is 2.1, so it's even better. You're going to land another Citadel here on this Kronstadt. Yeah. Okay, so we're, not even 4 minutes into the game, and he's already up to almost 82,000 in damage. So a very good reflection of a ship that has very good accuracy at these ranges. He's hitting these ships at between 18 to 20 kilometers, and obviously good aiming helps. But he's certainly doing a very good job here so far. Allies look like, well, yeah, there goes the Kronstadt. Allies are doing a pretty good job here to get things secured in the north. So Frank wanted to share this replay, I think, in a lot of ways to sort of share the strengths of this ship, to showcase some of the strengths of the ship, I should say. And I think we've already seen some of that already. In fact, Frank is going to start pushing in here because the Allies have gotten a pretty strong handle on this north flank, and it would be good to be able to push through Charlie and then be able to flank the majority of the opponents, or the larger force of the opponents that are in the south. I don't know what this Hipper is doing. He just took a torpedo, and, well, let's see how this is going to go. Is he going to have as much success with this Hipper as he did with the Kronstadt? No. Okay, 1 over pen. Not sure what happened there. Maybe the Bajie's not allowed to damage German ships. I don't know. But in any case, yeah, so one other anecdote that Frank shared with me about his experience with the Bajie was that he played the Bajie quite extensively during this current round of ranked sprint in the 3 versus 3 format with Tier 9 ships in these smaller maps where the Pommern and the Friedrich der Große and the Georgia, and basically the brawling battleships have been quite dominant. And in fact, Frank said that in one particular game, he was chastised by a teammate for having brought the Bajie. But Frank performed so well that the player ended up coming back to Frank after the match and apologized for being critical of Frank's ship choices, or ship choice, I should say, and was, I guess, quite impressed with Frank's performance. And so far with how he's doing here, I would tend to agree. The reality is that in ranked battles, or in any battles for that matter, players win games, not the ships. So while some ships tend to be better suited for certain play styles than others, my experience with ranked is to play the ships that you're comfortable with and you understand well, and you know their strengths and weaknesses and can exploit their strengths and mitigate against their weaknesses. He's going to get another salvo out on this Azuma, and there's 2 more Citadels, and he's up to 100 and almost 126,000 in damage. Yeah, the Allies are just kind of steamrolling here. So this replay really wasn't so much about, sort of the tactical sophistication of the game, and more to, like I said, to showcase the capabilities of the ship, and maybe give it a little more love that it probably should deserve. So I'm going to push through here, I hope, on the Charlie side. The opponents are getting quite surrounded here. The Allies have gotten a very strong handle on both the north and south flanks. This is absolutely going to put the opponents into a pincer situation. Not sure why, Frank, you're sort of turning out here a little bit. Maybe to try to give you more time to line up another shot on this Missouri. Is that Missouri not running with camouflage? It sure looks like it. Maybe that's a meritorious service camouflage that he's using. And, oh man, that was a pretty disappointing salvo. Only 3 overpens. So, yeah, so the Bajie, like I said, is a very solid ship. And I know that a lot of people still have a lot of misgivings about the Izumo alone. But like I said, I had a pretty positive experience with the Izumo. A lot of people point to the unusual turret layout. All 3 turrets are in the front. One of the turrets is rear facing. But the reality is that that's, at least in terms of the gun handling, is no different than most other sort of traditional battleship turret structures where they have 2 in the front and 1 in the rear. The rear one is always rear facing. Sure, it would be nice if on the Izumo the 3rd turret were forward facing like we see on the Nelson and the Lenin. But I found that with expert marksmen and good planning of your turret position, it was, for me at least when I played the Izumo, it wasn't too much of an issue. Even just having 2 turrets ready to go at any given time tended to work pretty well. And she's quite tanky bow on. So, even if you're limited to just using your forward turrets, that worked. For me, that tended to work pretty well. So you're going to push down here on start working your way down the west flank. And this is one of the things that I've always found frustrating with using the spotter plane, is that sometimes when you zoom back in, it zooms you into a position that is like not at all anywhere near to where you want to aim. And so you end up doing this very aggressive panning. You have a Missouri that's moved into Bravo, but he's quite isolated. And it looks like Frank's going to line up a shot on the Missouri here. See what he can do here. The Missouri's quite angled here. At least if he can get up into the superstructure and have the shells come down into the ship that way, he could get some pens. Well, 6 overpens. That still was a reasonable chunk of damage, but it would have been nice to have gotten a pen there. Frank, I'm wondering whether you would arc this far north like this to hopefully discover the carrier, which was first detected at Alpha 4, but obviously the carrier isn't there anymore. And we'll just have to keep an eye on where the planes are coming from. The Missouri goes down. The Allies just lost their Buffalo. That Sinop that Frank was firing on is still up as well. See if we can get a shot in here on the Sinop, although it looks like he's going to go for the Pommern. Yeah, trying to find a target of opportunity. The Pommern's the closer ship. Aim at the deck line. Again, the ship is quite angled. He's not going to be able to overmatch the bow, so try to get the shells up into the superstructure. Well, a little bit of damage, nothing too much, but he's still up to a very respectable 168,000 in damage. And yeah, the opponents here are getting quite spanked in this game. Yeah, he's now come into the secondary range of the Pommern, but based on the wide dispersion of the shells, it doesn't look like the Pommern has manual secondaries. But at this point, it doesn't matter because the Pommern goes down and the Sinop is almost down. And oh, guess what we just discovered? There's the carrier. And it looks like the carrier is not moving. Well, we'll find out here in a second when we zoom in. There's a call on the carrier. Carrier is often lower priority target, in my opinion. Any carrier that lets themselves get spotted too early is not properly managing their ship anyway. That was a pretty disappointing salvo. So this is a phenomenon that I've observed, and I think other colleagues have observed, and I don't know if this is intentional or what, but sometimes I notice that when I'm firing at a stationary target, And you know, clearly the reticle is dead set on the target. He's even aiming slightly above the waterline, try to maximize the number of shells to go in. He's not getting very many shells to land on target, and I don't know if that's a deliberate behavior, you know, in the programming to try to give stationary. Well, there's a Citadel hit, and he gets high caliber there, but I don't know if that's a deliberate intention of the programming to try to give stationary ships a little better survivability. I don't know, but the carrier's going to go down here, and that's going to end the game. So a very impressive outing in terms of damage for the ship. Unfortunately, it didn't get too many kills because allies were mopping up some of the low health targets, but 205,000 damage and almost 2,100 base XP. And the Bajie in a tier 9 match here on Neighbors is certainly a good outing, a good demonstration of the ship. So thanks much, Frank, for sending this over. I hope everybody enjoyed the replay and the commentary. And as always, we hope to see you out there on the virtual seas, and we wish you happy sailing.